I was originally born in LA in California. I originally wanted to be a theoretical physicist, but once I actually got into like the hard, grunty math of everything, I was like, this is not so much fun as I expected it to be. Well, I did not actually want to do anything with software engineering. I wanted to be. I actually applied for UT. I was very late because I had applied for like some big schools, and I got waitlisted at a few of them, and I didn't get any acceptances. So I was like, oh man, I have to do something. Probably the most difficult problem is the Solana. At least Solana, I'm like I'm pretty much against like pretty much any other altcoin. The downside of that is definitely that because like it is glorified gambling. I in my opinion, I think the answer is simple. It's just how finny.
Okay, so first of all, thank you for taking time out of your schedule to have a chat with me. So yeah, first go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, so I'm Calva. I'm the founder and CEO of Shopstr Markets, basically working on making markets more open and accessible online, making it easy for people to sell their products, be able to access products, and be able to, just engage in commerce digitally as easily as possible. So that's like the goal of what we're doing, and I've been involved in Bitcoin and Nostr for about 3 to 4 years now. It's just like my mission to kind of spread those values and make things better for people, no matter what part of the world they're on, and no matter the restrictions around what it is that they're selling. Just make free trade more open and accessible.
Okay, great. So let's start from the very beginning. We all know you are the CEO of Shopstar, but we want to know the person, like where did you grow up and your education, and when actually you decided to become a software engineer.
Yeah. So I was originally born in LA in California. So and I've drawn, I guess, a lot of influence from Los Angeles and like being in like the West Coast. That's always been like my second home, basically. But I grew up in Houston, Texas. So in Texas, there, I had a pretty comfortable, nice and comfortable life, thankfully. And I was able to like kind of my dad was in real estate, so he would like be away a lot of the time. But when he would come back, he because like the wanting to make up with time, we'd always go on trips and travels like across the country and also sometimes outside of the country. So that was like good like exposure to be able to like see more of the world and see how different things can be, not just in the U.S. but across different regions, different cultures, different languages. And that was like one of the benefits I think of how I grew up, especially coming from a Mexican household. My first language was Spanish, so I was able to like kind of involve myself in that type of culture. In LA, it was a very big Mexican community, so that's where all my extended family is. So in the environment that I was in, I was just exposed to a lot of like variety and different things, different cultures, different experiences. So I had a lot of like a breadth of knowledge to be able to like draw from and get inspired by. And like when I was in school, I was super good at calculus and like physics, so I really loved that stuff. I originally wanted to be a theoretical physicist, but once I actually got into like the hard, grunty math of everything, I was like, this is not so much fun as I expected it to be. Um, but I found coding in high school. So I actually started like relatively compared to like a lot of people, especially nowadays. I started coding actually when I was like 17, 18, at the very end of high school, just like doing small little things, little projects, and getting into it. And actually, after I graduated from high school, I did not actually want to do anything with software engineering. I wanted to be a hardware engineer, electrical engineering. I wanted to help design phones, circuit boards, firmware, all that stuff. And like I got into college doing computer engineering, so just to get a breadth of like electrical and computer science. So I was like involved in all that. And as I was getting into in college, the biggest thing, like one of the biggest catalysts for I guess like what I believe in and the stuff that I do now was actually like the GameStop short squeeze. So people who aren't familiar, back in like 2020, 2021, there was this company called GameStop that like sells video games in physical retail stores. And there was like on Wall Street, it was like one of the most shorted stocks, and there was like overexposure on the short, and people were just like piling money into it because they were betting that GameStop was going to shoot up to 1,000 million, whatever, and just like keep going to the moon. And I got really involved in it because I was seeing the movement because it was like basically the small guy taking on the big guy. We were like trying to take on the institutions and try to bring them down and actually like win. Um, and like we were doing pretty well for a moment there, part of the movement. But as soon as like Robinhood shut down the buy button and like a bunch of trading firms got involved in it, that like sidestepped everything. And from there, that's what made me realize like a bit of the stock market. And because I had been involved in like stock trading and stuff for a little bit because my dad had got me into it. And I realized that the stock market is a bit more easily corruptible than I expected it to be, and there's a lot more manipulation that's at play. And I decided that I needed to find some other avenue of like being involved in this without having so much like institutional exposure, and that's why I found crypto first. So I was very highly involved in crypto and like getting into Ethereum, like Polygon, Chainlink, Bitcoin, obviously. So that was just like taking a wide array of like different stuff, getting involved in it, getting into the tech. Uh, and I went to one conference in Miami, the Bitcoin conference in Miami in 2021, and that is what like started changing my mind in terms of my direct focus within like the crypto landscape. I heard a talk by Alex Friedman, or not Alex Friedman, Alex Gladstein, who was basically speaking on like the social impact that Bitcoin could play in like different countries like Africa or different like countries and continents like Africa, like in Kenya specifically. He was pointing out different initiatives that have been there, regions like in the Middle East, different stuff that people were using to like kind of free themselves from authoritarian regimes like North Korea, just a wide variety of different things that the technology could be used for. And I was like, oh, this is much more than just like a money making investment. It's actually like it's a tool, it's a utility for actually being able to grow and develop yourself, create more freedom in the world. So I got very interested in it. And that's what actually brought me back into computer engineering, or rather computer science programming, because I wanted to contribute to Bitcoin. So I started picking up, I was already doing like some classes in college a little bit, like mainly Java more than anything. But I started getting more into like Python for some of the scripting language in Bitcoin, and then also Go and C++ to like kind of try and get into contributing to core and L&D. And once I like sort of dived a little bit deeper, I ran into this one post by Jack Dorsey on Twitter. He was talking about this thing called Nostr, and when I first like checked it out, it was just like a social media type of thing, and I was interested in it. It seemed cool, like a different alternative, decentralized alternative to Twitter and everything. But then as I actually started getting more into like the actual the specification of the protocol, I noticed that there was like opportunity to do something much more than just social media, especially because at the time I didn't even have any social media accounts other than Nostr and Twitter. So I was interested in like kind of expanding the avenue for like what could be built on it, and that's what initially catalyzed the idea to like work on Shopstr and start building like a marketplace. Because also my university was UT Dallas, and there in Dallas, Ross Ulbricht, the founder of the Silk Road, he was actually one of the alumni, and he created like this open marketplace for people to at the time to sell drugs and stuff. And that wasn't my initial the thing that drew me about it was the fact that it was like more based on like free market principles of like people should be free and have the choice and the ability to like buy what they want and engage in the commerce that they want, with their own education, not being limited by like what the government has to say or like regulations that are around things. Like it should just be pure free and open commerce. And that's why I wanted to like apply Nostr to it, especially as I was getting into Bitcoin development. It was rather daunting being surrounded by all these like super cracked developers who knew so much, had so much technical prowess, and I just didn't consider myself that good of a software engineer, especially at the time, because I just recently gotten back into it, so like really passionate about it. So once I found Nostr, I was like, this is very simple, and like it's like the application layer for Bitcoin is what I saw it as. So I was like building the marketplace, and yeah, just doing it on the weekends. When I graduated, I started working for. I was overemployed for a little bit, so I was doing 2 jobs. I was working for Amazon and Salesforce and like big tech for. I did it for 9 months before I quit to go all in on building Shopstr, and then since then it's just been me iterating on it, trying to find people to help contribute to the project like you, and I've been adapting the idea a little bit to kind of like expand and like grow, market the product. So it's just it's been a good journey of like just discovering exactly what it is that drives me and figuring out how I want to take the company and like build it out.
I actually was going through your personal website where I find like you studied at University of Texas at Dallas and you did internships at companies like JP Morgan and Salesforce and Amazon. So most of the graduates like feel like they have reached the success point, like they have got jobs at big companies just after graduating out of college. So what made you quit the industry just within 10 months? And like, was it always your plan that you want to do something of your own, or something happened during your corporate journey that you decided to start Shopstr?
Yeah, I think it wasn't always my plan. When I initially got into it, I also thought like, oh yeah, I got the good jobs, especially because like when I was applying for colleges, I actually applied for UT Dallas very late because I had applied for like some big schools and I got waitlisted at a few of them, and I didn't get any acceptances. So I was like, oh man, I have to do something. So I applied here and got in, and I was originally supposed to go to a different school, but it decided against it. And like basically the outcome from going to like the good school through the honors program of CS at UT Austin, like the primary one, the primary UT school, was basically the goal to get out of that is to work for Amazon, work for Facebook, work for the big tech companies. And I got the same outcome just going through like the normal UT Dallas, like a sister school for it. And from there, I was like, yeah, I think I did exactly what I needed to do, and I was like proud of myself and like working within it. And once I actually started working on the job, it was like obviously great to be making the money and like having like the sustainable income like coming through, but very quickly I just started feeling like it wasn't fulfilling in my eyes to like work within what I was doing, and especially around this time, like it's pretty you're really young coming out of college, like 21, 22, just like getting into it. Maybe sometimes people are even younger coming out of it, and like I didn't want to uh, limit my career trajectory just based on like me having to like play corporate games and trying to like climb the ladder and having to like figure out what company to switch to get more pay, blah blah blah, all this stuff, upgrading my lifestyle. Because as I was working, I like spent like no money, and I was just like living at home, and anything I would do in my free time, I would be like working on Shopstr. I was even like Shopstr itself, I was just interested more in like using it as a tool to like increase Bitcoin adoption, not really think of it as something to like grow a business or anything. I was just like working on the side just because I was interested and passionate about it. And with that, I really just wanted to, yeah, I wanted to forge my own path at some point and just see, especially with all like the mysticism of like being a founder and like building your own company and like trying to create something of your own. That was a bit of a draw for me as well, and I wanted to like try it out, especially since I was so young. Like the thing that really solidified it for me to actually take the leap, I was trying to think of like what is the worst possible thing that could happen if I quit my jobs and like stop making all this money. And I was like thinking about it, and like aside from like death, but that's just a thing that can happen any day. The thing that was worse is like I just moved back in with my parents, and that's really not that bad because that means I have a loving family, free food, and like a house to stay in. So it's like there's not really too much of a risk to actually just try and jump into it. So at that point, I'd gotten into a program called Sovereign Engineering, which is in Portugal, like during my jobs, and I got accepted into it, and I was considering whether or not I should quit. And then I was just like, after doing the cost benefit analysis of like what like the actual risks of everything, I was like, this seems like a smart thing to do. Like I might as well just try and like kind of gain experience in a different way, expose myself to different stuff, and just jump into it. And yeah, after I kind of like built up the foundation of safety that I thought I had. I was like, yeah, this seems like the right path, and I'll just do it. And it's been great so far. And like obviously, it can be a little bit stressful whenever you don't have like like certified plans for the future, like coming up, even like within the next month or so. But yeah, I wouldn't change anything for it because I've been able to like go to so many countries around the world, meet so many interesting people doing their own things, doing even still working for people, but just like with different passions, and there's just so much variety and diversity to like jump in and build your own thing. Especially like coming out of college, we feel like we're supposed to have the answers to the world already for our whole life. And since we're so young, we have so much opportunity and ability to really like change our path no matter how we want. And even if we have no money, we have the thing we have is time and energy, and that's like the most valuable thing we can have because we can just experiment with so much, test many things, figure out what we're actually passionate about, and then yeah, just go for it whenever we do. And it doesn't have to be like entrepreneurship or like building your own company. You could just really be super passionate about like space travel, and there's really no better place to like do space travel than like SpaceX or something, like work for the company. So it's just like figuring out exactly like what you value and the kind of like path you want to forge for yourself, and that's like what allowed me to like really go in on and yeah, just focus on it.
I actually saw somewhere that you built the first part of Shopstr at a hackathon. Can you tell a little bit about that?
Oh yeah. So yeah, there was during college when I was like still like just kind of figuring stuff out and like trying to get involved in Bitcoin a little bit. I went to hackathon in San Francisco because I just discovered Replit, and they were like a pretty young company at the time, so I just discovered Replit and I was like getting into it, just like using it, getting into like vibe coding. It wasn't called vibe coding at the time, but like getting
Yeah.
into like AI assisted coding and all that. Um, and I was just like playing around with it, and then because I was like in their community forum, I got a notification that they're hosting something in San Francisco, and I was like, oh, well, this would be cool to like just check out, just to be a part of. So I skipped class for a week, and I flew out just to go because I was like, classes are just boring, because it was also like at the end of COVID time, so a lot of stuff was remote still. So I had like a little bit more flexibility with everything. So yeah, I jumped on a plane, I went over to San Francisco, and then I went to the hackathon, and I was trying to think of something to do, so I decided to build like a Lightning wallet to like help like buy stuff with, and I was building it out, fleshing it out, and like I had something and I demoed it. That was the first time that I ever like actually built something for myself. I'd only ever done things in like internships. Never even like hadn't built my personal website or anything yet. Just like a very simple thing that I wanted. I wanted to like push myself to like kind of create something and actually show it to people, like see if there's any reception at all, which was like a nice experience there. I actually have a old recording from like when the hackathon presentation actually went out. But whenever I built that out, I was like, that kick started like the motivation to like, okay, that means I can actually build something and like show it off, and people can at least like know that I built something. So I was like, okay, this is interesting. Like there's a little bit of feedback, and I can like iterate on it and build on it. So from there, that's what allowed me to like focus and be like, okay, I actually have the ability to build something completely new of my own and for my own start, and just like work from there. So yeah, there was the hackathon stuff, especially in San Francisco, and like going on a whim. They're like great opportunities to like kind of expose yourself to a lot of people and like different mentalities to like see exactly like what type of thing you want to work on, especially if you're starting to try to start a new project and stuff like that.
So we all know building a startup is hard, and being a solo founder, that too in starting like a Bitcoin startup where adoption is very low and you have to literally go to people and tell them it's safe, secure, and it is going to be the future. So how do you manage, like, because when we are in corporate, we have tons of managers and resources, Jira tickets telling us what to do. But when you become a founder, you are the CEO, CTO, customer support, and you have to do marketing as well. So how do you manage that, and especially in the early days of Shopster?
Yeah, it's definitely it can be very hectic and very crazy to like have to be everything and everything at once. But at least like the way that I like took it, I took periods of time where I would just focus on a particular aspect of the business growth that I needed to, and like just dedicate myself to that kind of, especially since at the time didn't have anyone working with me, no one involved in the project. It was literally just myself. I would just take periods of time where I would only code and like kind of work on my ability there, and then I would take period of time where I was just talking to customers, work my ability there, doing customer support. Customer support, I guess, is just like the one thing that's like always happening when you're doing stuff. But yeah, it's just a matter of kind of delegating your time and like kind of blocking out periods of time in the week where you're comfortable, especially if you're coming from like a technical background like I did, where you're comfortable working the muscle of like creating ideas, or just thinking about how you write whenever you're posting things online, like how to market things properly. You have to be comfortable not using coding as an excuse for work all the time. Especially if you want to develop other skills, you have to set time aside to actually work on the other skills. So it's something I still struggle with too. Like when I'm not doing like straight coding work, then I feel like I'm not actually working. But they actually oftentimes the non-coding work is the stuff that actually moves the needle the most when I'm engaging with customers, getting feedback with like exactly what it is that would be improving for them, um, or seeing like trying an ad and like seeing like iterating on it and seeing like, okay, this is how many people engaged with it, how many people didn't, like creating content, stuff like that. There's just you have to it's a very hard thing to work on, but just being able to be okay, not doing hard technical work all the time, and like using your creative muscles to be working on strategizing and like building the company. So and things get easier, especially once you have like people working, contributing to the project, when you have hires, employees, and all that stuff. And that's one of the benefits I think of open source. The reason like I wanted to do open source stuff, other than like it being free and open for people can like verify themselves that things are like being actually done the way that they said they are. People can like discover the project. and be able to like engage with it, and then it like helps alleviate some of the full-on workload with certain things, so you don't have to like fully do everything. Like it becomes easier to delegate and help like manage different tasks and work on that, because that was one of the best things of being open source. I was able to like be part of Summer of Bitcoin, where I met you, and also met
Yeah.
some other interns where I met Wellington. So there's just a lot of like great opportunities that come from like being building in the open, because you don't have to like necessarily build your project in the open source, but if you're just like posting about it online, about your journey, about the things you're building, then you like draw people and bring in attention to like exactly like your brand and like the things you're building, and then people can be interested and be like, hey, I want to work with you, I want to help something, I want to do something, because there's always so many people that just want to learn, and giving them the opportunity to do so is one of the most valuable things you can do. And obviously giving them the trust in the other people that like they'll execute the way that they promise they will, because that's also a hard thing whenever you're like once you have like people you have to manage, uh, and especially coming from like only working on it completely yourself, like it's like your baby, so you want to make sure everything is done like the way that you see it, but oftentimes like your vision for everything isn't always the right one, and you have to be comfortable like stepping back and like, actually letting things develop on their own and like develop organically through like the people that you hired, because you did choose them and work with them for a reason, so that's very important to consider.
Okay. So you have said earlier few times that original Silk Road was an inspiration for permissionless markets, but it failed because it has like a single server and government seized it. So how do you think is Shopstr different? And if government seizes like your laptop, let's just a hypothetical, and takes down the website, how can merchant feel like his products and his shop is safe?
Yeah. So the key difference comes from like the Nostr architecture. So basically, the way that Nostr works is that it's a normal client server model, but in this case, the user has the ability to select multiple servers at once, or to like specify specific data being published to it. So you're able to like distribute your data across multiple server instances, and you don't have to like centralize it into one single force. Sometimes certain projects, like Shopstr actually does this as well. They cache into a single centralized force, just like improve loading times or improve performance and certain things like that. But the important thing is that there's a redundant layer in the backend that allows for multiple servers, or like in Nostr's case, relays. That's what they're called. Multiple relays to be containing the same data. So even if one relay goes down, you're still able to fetch the data that you had previously saved or like that you had updated, and like it just creates a more distributed, decentralized network. It's not fully peer-to-peer because you're still interacting with the server, but that's like one of the trade-offs, and one of the I think benefits of it is that you're still able to tap into live data, especially when you're building new projects. Having live data already on distributed servers makes things a lot easier to iterate on top of. So even when I'm like trying to test out a new feature, it makes it easy. I can query from a specific relay or different relays to test like latency and all these things, performance, and then able to like just build an application on top of it with real live data, real live user data, which is very, very powerful. And if a government were to like shut down my laptop or do anything like that, the benefit that we have with Shopstr is that we have the ability to install the application. Since it's open source, you can actually download the source code, so you're able to like run it on your own machine at any time you want. But we also have them on easy instances like Umbrel and Start9. Like these are basically like home servers that allow you to run like they're marketed towards mainly Bitcoiners, but they also have different applications like for file storage, torrenting, different stuff like that. And on those networks, you don't even rely on DNS or anything. It's just like on your local network, and that's very powerful because even if the network goes down, like the original domain name goes down, gets taken down by the government or something like that, my computer sees all the codes, whatever, you're still able to run it, the application, and you're able to interact with the protocol. And that's also the benefit of working with like decentralized protocols, like open protocols, is that you're able to tap into it. Even if like the applications are down, you can still have other people that have other applications that are like either interfacing with it natively, or you're able to like directly interact with the system and not have to actually go through the main DNS page to actually resolve anything and actually interact with the whole marketplace. You're still able to do things outside of the system, even if stuff gets shut down, and even if all like the access points are removed, the data still exists. So your store is still alive. your the user's purchases and orders are still alive. So everything's still around because the private key, the public and private key pair that's generated whenever you create your Nostr account is the only thing that actually controls whether or not the data exists and the server instances are like interacting with it. So it adds like resiliency to the network from the get-go without you having to worry about making backups and all this other stuff. Like the backups exist, they're already there, your account tied, make sure that the data doesn't get deleted, and that you have like full control and ensure that like I'm the one actually creating this data, that my all my stores are everything. And even if you, other things that can happen is you just don't like the service of Shopstr, for example, then you could just move over to another marketplace that is interoperable with it, and you can use their interface, and everything still exists and it's all portable, and vice versa. So you can come in from another marketplace and come over to Shopstr if you prefer it. So there's just like a lot of optionality and choice that is given to the user, which is very, very powerful because they can just like be able to run with it on their own, and they don't have to rely on some third party to like ensure that they're still operating in business. They don't have to rely on the terms of service or any of these things. Like they'll be able to and guarantee that they can still continue operating their business, sell their products, access products, and stuff like that.
So we already have seen apps like Primal, Damus, and Amethyst getting attention right now, but we are kind of building commerce on top of social graph. Can you explain the viewers like why it is helpful and would be a game changer in the future, and why it is safer for me as a customer to purchase from someone I follow on Nostr instead of a stranger on eBay or Amazon?
Yeah, I think the that comes to a lot of like the incentive structure that we've like laid out with like the marketplaces. Because like traditional marketplaces, since it is like just a random stranger, like the company itself has to include a lot of like remediation services and dispute resolution, a lot of stuff that is very costly, and a lot of the time is like what mainly where a lot of the fees and stuff go into. Um, and what that actually ends up doing is that creates it creates customers and buyers that just offload the thinking and like the processing of like, do I actually want to buy this? Is this a trustworthy source to the marketplace itself? And that removes a lot of our ability to just like handle things more consciously and interact and engage in the economy more consciously. And that's part of the thing with like that comes with peer-to-peer commerce, because there is obviously risk involved that you could get scammed or anything could happen like that. But with that risk comes a responsibility, which is like ultimately what freedom is. It's like the responsibility to like actually analyze things, make sure they actually trust the system, that you trust the individual that you're interacting with, that you trust that the product's actually going to deliver, stuff like that. And especially when it comes to when it comes to like being a buyer and like having more reliability, if you have direct social connection with the social graph, and like at least verification that there are individuals that you know that actually know this other person, then that makes things a lot more reliable and a lot more trustworthy whenever you're actually engaging online, because you can actually like have that. In Nostr, there's this thing called Web of Trust, which is basically like a social graph, a filtering mechanism that filters out second degree follows. So if I follow someone and they follow another person, I'll see them. But if I follow someone but they don't follow this other particular person, I won't see them. So you can by default filter, like at least show like, okay, this person, like my friend Alex knows that this individual, Mr. Bitcoin or whatever, and like I'm buying from Mr. Bitcoin, and I know that at least one person has interacted with him and like has some social connection with him, so it's a little more trustworthy. And if I see that like one of my friends is selling a product, I already know who they are, for obviously, so I'm able to more directly engage with it. So it adds a layer of trust and social and social reputation that can alleviate a lot of the pressure of having to necessarily like be full on like, I don't know if this person is a scammer or not. If you already have like a social verification on top of something, it makes it a lot easier for you to be able to see the reputability of a seller. And even on top of that, you can just very simply add reviews and other things. And the review system on like Amazon and certain things is very gamed. So yeah, it's possible to like just post your own reviews and order your own product and stuff like that. But also with the social web, the social graph on Nostr, you're able to actually filter those reviews out for social verification to ensure that it actually is like a reputable source. Because like for an example, one thing that it does prevent, if there's like a very new account that gets spun up that's selling a product or like listing a review, it has no social graph. So whenever you're actually filtering out for the social trust, that account gets completely removed, because it could be a bot, it could be the seller's account that's leaving the review, it could be an actual scammer that just didn't want to tie their identity to it. So it adds a lot of it's a good like filtering mechanism to at least like add some layer of security when engaging in it. And on top of that, you can build like different like actual payment mechanisms like escrow and stuff like that in order to add a little bit more security and trust, but that typically benefits the buyer more than anything. So it's just a lot of the social verification makes things a little more closely related to like the real world, because as you're going to different places, you interact with people, you interact with the merchants, you start developing relationships, you can trust them, and even eventually at some point, it doesn't happen much nowadays, but you can probably like leave money on the table or like come back another day and pay them back. So it's like you can start developing relationships and trust and be a little bit more like real in your interactions online, which is like what's I think very valuable. And one thing that we lack in like traditional social media stuff is that even with like the social graph and everything, there's no like tying of physical real activity often between parties. It's always just like social posting and engagement more than like actually like physical commerce, which I think is very important and very an untapped market that we like. That's why we're working on it. It's like something that people really haven't experimented with a lot, and there's a lot of opportunity to like innovate and like make things a lot better than they are today.
So one of the massive problems with Amazon or eBay is like their platform locking. If the company bans you, your entire shops is gone within a fraction of second. Your reviews, everything. So if somebody is a merchant on Shopstr and decides to move to a different client, will their reviews and entire shop and the trust he has built on Shopstr by selling his products will go away with him, or it will be just gone just like Amazon and eBay?
No, everything carries over with them. That's like the beauty of having like the cryptographic key verification on Nostr. Once you create an event, it's published, and the only one who controls the data, whether or not it exists, is you. So you're in control of everything, and as long as you're interacting with another client, another application that is interoperable with the protocol that's like aligned with, then you're able to like move everything over. So that's like the key thing is making sure you have a client that respects all the data transfer and the data transfer and like data consistency across that. And even so, you're still in control of your data. You can always like fetch it or query it. It's a little more technical on that end if you're not like super involved in that. But the nature of Nostr is that you're able to bring over all your data no matter where you're taking it, and you're always in control of it. So it's very very powerful for the user. There's no like gatekeeping or complete account closures or account freezing. You can even still accept payments and all that stuff. So there's a lot of resiliency built into that.
So a big question users have is about the discovery. On Amazon, they like just go and type shoes and they get thousands of results. But on Nostr, there are like hundreds of relays going and fetching data. So how is Shopstart solving the problem of discovery so that users can actually find the products they want?
Yeah, discovery is definitely one of like the biggest things to tackle. And actually, I think the way we're kind of taking the approach for now is niching down on a particular market. So like focusing on specific subgroups of products and like kind of tailoring the marketplace offerings for that particular thing in order to allow for more directed organic discovery of a particular product niche instead of like because especially at the moment, like the main Shopstr marketplace is like anything and everything, and because Nostr marketplaces are still growing in their adoption rate, there's a wide variety of products, and sometimes a lot of things are just one off. It's more like the closest comparison would be like Facebook Marketplace. So it's like, but not nearly as much like depth of like the social graph as like Nostr. You're piggybacking off of the Nostr network, right? So there's not like billions of Facebook users interacting with it. With regards to discovery, it's mainly that's another benefit that comes from like the social graph. You get to see like from the people that you follow and like they're interacting with, what are they selling, what are they interacting with, the type of things like interest them to like produce, and then what can I find from that. Like at the moment, it's really like mainly a organic discovery of like artisan goods, not necessarily like directed targeted search. That's why if like we're with the focus of like scaling up and actually getting to that the targeted search level, focusing on particular market niches. Like for example, we have one marketplace that's like specifically for like raw milk and local food. So with that, people will come to that marketplace for that in particular, and then we'll then move over to like farm goods or homemade artisan goods or like secondhand items or electronics and stuff like that. So you're able to like tailor and expand from there and like allow for more category growth rather than just like by default having like deep search, because you could have deep search, but if someone's looking for an egg blender or something like that, well, it's probably likely you're not going to find it on the main marketplace because it's just not that much variety of product on it. So you have to like start small and grow from there in order to actually have that depth of category selection. And that's like the strategy like we're taking at the moment.
So you are a huge supporter of cashu, which is ecash. And so for the non-technical viewer, why would you choose ecash for Shopstr instead of just using the standard lightning payments? Is it purely for privacy, or is there a user experience kind of thing that forced you to choose ecash?
Yeah, I think the privacy is definitely one of the main benefits for it. But in my opinion, the biggest thing is the usability, especially if it's for new people, because like the goal is to like onboard not just Bitcoiners. Because for Bitcoiners, they actually do prefer direct Lightning transactions. That's why we have like integrated some of that stuff to like make sure that that needs service. But for completely new users who are like new to Bitcoin or like new to this type of technology, having cashu as like the primary payment mechanism, especially because we have a built-in wallet into the application, so like people can natively like interact with it and use it there. Having main cashu like that doesn't require external wallet downloads. It doesn't require having to like download a Bitcoin wallet, having to set up a Lightning node, deal with the liquidity, set up a Lightning address. Some of these things, like, while not entirely super difficult, they can be kind of daunting to have like all this information thrown at you, especially as a new user. You don't want to just be diving into the deep end when it comes to Bitcoin. You want to take your time and like kind of graduate up to the levels of like technical sophistication that you can. And with cashu, it makes it very easy because it's simply like a string of text. Um, so it's just letters and numbers, just like going across that represent value, Bitcoin value, and it makes it very easy because you can send that as a text message, as a DM over the DM system that we have implemented, and you can like. The nice thing about it is you can like actually show it as like dollars or rupees or euros or whatever currency that you want. So as a user, when I see it, it's like, oh, I see the actual value rather than just like Bitcoin or Sats, because you might not understand what any of that means, and it makes it easier to kind of onboard onto it, because since you don't need an external wallet to download anything, you can just receive the cashu token, and you already have Bitcoin, and you're able to spend it. You're able to use it within the Shopstr network. You're able to use it within the Nostr network, and it like alleviates a lot of the immediate onboarding requirements that can be kind of onerous, like actually get onboarded onto, having to like understand all the technical complexities and all this stuff. With Cash, you can abstract a lot of that and make things easy. And while it is a custodial system, which is the primary downside of it, that's like the primary way that like Lightning is often used, especially by new users, is through custodial systems, because it makes it easy for them to be able to like at least transition into like more advanced self-custodial options. And that's like the main goal. It's like onboard as many people as possible, give them exposure and access to Bitcoin, and by making that as easy as possible using cashu, it makes the whole process of like building out the marketplace and like getting people comfortable with like the UX and like how the whole system operates. That's the best thing that comes out of it. And yeah, privacy is great on top of that, because like normal on-chain Bitcoin is not it's pseudonymous. It's not fully private. So that's something that you always have to take into consideration. And yeah, like also another thing was that actually implementing it technically is a lot easier. It's a lot simpler, and less of a load on a developer than having to like implement full on like Lightning channel liquidity and all this stuff. Like it's just like a really easy way to integrate payments into your application, and there's a lot of still stuff being developed out into it to hopefully even for people who don't want any exposure to Bitcoin, they'll be able to like have like stable coin exposure and like being able to like handle just direct dollar conversions and not have to deal with like the Bitcoin price volatility. So there's a lot of technical stuff like being built on top of that, and it introduces a lot of like interesting native technical concepts like payment splitting that's very simple, escrow concepts that are very simple. So there's a lot of technical things that also like are benefit from being able to like use this much simpler payment protocol.
So Bitcoiners love the phrase like not your keys, not your coins. But cashew is fundamentally custodial. You have to trust the mint. So how do you deal with telling people to be sovereign while also asking them to trust a mint operator? Is eCash a permanent solution, or there can be a possible non-custodial solution to this?
Yeah. So also on top of the like the web of trust and social graph stuff, another thing that like is beneficial is that you can like do social attestations or social verification recommendations of specific things, and like on top of with that being mints, so you can recommend specific mints. And then at the moment, Shopstr just defaults like the largest and most popular mint, because One is because they primarily have they have a reputation to uphold, and they hold a lot of money. And while there is the risk of them obviously like rugging people, it's a massive downside for them because they are the also they develop one of the biggest wallets. They're very involved with the cashu project, so they have reputation at stake, and like social social proof and social validation is like one of the biggest things that actually drives like human action and stuff like that. So having that that possible like backstop of like loss of social ability and all that stuff is one of the big things that like helps like keep that up. But but with that, you're able to still have recommendations from other users to like see like what mints do they recommend. You're able to verify like multiple sites and like to see all that stuff. And yeah, cashew in and of itself is not like an end all be all solution. It's not like it's not the main. It's definitely not like the pure vision of like what we want Bitcoin to be. We don't want it to be like fully custodial, always in the hands of someone else. Uh, but the thing that it does provide is that it's better banking infrastructure, because like traditional banking systems, they have like full on analysis of like all your transactions and everything you're interacting with, everything you're buying, the people you're buying from. And cashew helps alleviate that by removing any trace of exactly what you're buying, even the amount you're spending. Like the mint has no ability to operate within that, so like that's where privacy adds like the layer of sovereignty, at least in that system, especially if you're trying to onboard new people onto Bitcoin. It adds the privacy by default, makes it easy to like interact with technically. So it's a nice intermediate solution while we move forward to building out more self-custodial and self-sovereign infrastructure. And that's mainly just a function of dev time more than anything. It's like, and getting involved in streamlining that process and making it easier for people to kind of be educated on how to interact with Lightning, how to interact with on-chain Bitcoin, how to interact with like the actual payment systems that are being built out. So yeah, it's really more than anything, it's a UX problem. Because people just need to be able to educate themselves or be educated on how to interact with these systems. And like and it's getting better over time, and that's like mainly the big thing is just like as more and more people get educated, the more we can transition over to full self custody. And we also have to accept that not everyone wants to be self custodial. Some people also want to have security in a bank or security in that like someone else is holding the for them. Like it can be a lot of responsibility to bear for a lot of people. Not everyone needs to have to self custody. It is obviously the preferred method if you can and if you're willing to do it. But yeah, some people just don't want to do it. Like your grandma probably doesn't want to do it. Even now, she doesn't like if they have cash in the under their pillow, but then like money in the bank because they want to make sure that they have something that they can easily access. Especially now as our like world gets more digital, like there is like different trade-offs and different levels of monetary control that you want to give in order to be able to interact with stuff. So there's and sometimes it's even legally required for you to have to be custodying certain things, and if you don't want to get fined or like arrested, you have to be able to like interact with those systems. So it's just it's a big gradient of like trade-offs and like what you're comfortable with and what you're not comfortable with. So yeah, it's just a matter of building it out, improving the UX, and yeah, moving the ball forward.
Okay, so what is the main thing which you think if Shopstar achieve its like in the next 5 or 10 years, and it will just 10x the revenue and like user base of Shopstar? What is the main most difficult problem you think right now Shopstar is facing?
Yeah, I think probably the most difficult problem is the getting the established like community user base. So what I mean by that is like getting the actual like particular like market saturation for the initial users, like the full usage by a particular niche to start having like a sustainable economic model. And so, like for example, like Facebook, right? Like the way that they started was by getting Harvard students specifically to onboard and start using the network. And once they like fully got every Harvard student, then they expanded to other Ivy League schools, Stanford, and built out from there. So that's basically like the thing is like getting the initial target market, finding the right subsect of people to start actually getting eyes on the marketplace, getting people interacting with it, getting comfortable with the system, and from there allowing for more targeted marketing strategies to actually like, expand and show and create more education around what the actual system is doing, getting more people used to it and comfortable with it. So the biggest thing is really just is marketing effort more than anything, because like technically things are there, and like the product is, at least functions and it works. There's obviously always improvements to be made. Like we can make streamline UX, we can streamline design, we can make things more personalized, things like that. But whenever you're scaling out and growing something, the biggest thing is always like getting your market size right and the market population right. If you're not like actually, if you're dedicating your effort to like such a wide array of people that are involved in it, you're just never going to be able to hit like anyone. You're not going to get on target. And that was one of the reasons why we moved not fully away from, but like we moved direction and focus from like the general Shopstr marketplace to like the milk and local foods marketplace, because whenever I was starting to think of like what can I actually do to like grow this business and like what marketing can I do, what target market, what target demographics am I going to be focusing on with Shopster, there's just like so many products and different things on there that it's just like you can't even think of who specifically you have to go to talk to. Yeah, you can do Bitcoiners, but then there's so many Bitcoiners that don't buy the same things, or that don't even spend their Bitcoin, or that don't that interact with these systems. So it's like you have to broaden and you have to actually like look at the landscape and see what particular thing actually truly benefits from the technology, and then grow it and focus on it and grow it from there. And so it's just a matter of like onboarding and like focusing on like doing things that don't scale, being gradual, especially in the early days of stuff. You don't want to just try and hit scale. Like just start with like scaling strategies. What you want to do is like start slowly, build relationships, develop them, and then once you have that reputation and like a consistent interaction with your customers, then you're able to build and like iterate the system into what exactly actually moves the needle for them, what problem you're really solving, and then especially with the consumer product, especially with the marketplace, like since it's two-sided, the onboarding the merchants is probably the easiest part. The hardest part is actually getting the customers to come. So then with that, it's just a matter of putting, especially like in the category that we're working on, a lot of times what we see in like the content and like the marketing that's put out there is that it's very serious and very focused on making sure that, oh yeah, we know like the world is going to shit, or like the things are not playing out the way that we want them to, so we have to fix it. We have to like stand our ground and like make sure things are done properly. But one thing that we're missing, that I feel like we're missing, is a lot of entertainment and getting into that, because the weight of all like the bad can actually like stop people from actually doing something and inciting action in others. And whenever you actually like have entertainment community groups, you create a developed and a sense of camaraderie and developed community, so you actually feel like a part of something, and that actually is what motivates more action and gets more people to actually like interact with your system or like be a part of something. It's all the messaging that you put out there to actually get people to believe and be a part of what it is that you're building, like the mission, the movement that you're trying to like put out there. So it's more than anything, and that is like the struggle for most companies, is always just marketing it and getting the word and like tailoring it in a way that actually makes others feel like they're a part of a mission alongside with you as a customer, not just as like an employee or like the founder or whatever. You always want to make everyone who you're involved with feel like a part of the whole thing that you're building, because otherwise you're just like it's not going to be sustainable in the long run, because you're just building something, maybe making your money and then moving on, because like the movement dies, and you always want to like make sure that there's compounding interest and compounding growth, and you can only do that by starting slow and fixating on like developing community, building out like marketing, building out the any event or product or surrounding that makes people feel like they're a part of an in group, part of something that they can grow with together.
Okay, so everyone is like right now talking about AI, and so many AI agents are coming up, but AI agents cannot open the bank account, cannot do KYC. Do you think it's an opportunity for like Shopster to build something around this, where AI agents are shopping on Shopster, like it's happening at like Perplexity is releasing Comet and OpenAI is releasing Atlas, and they are doing stuff like that. OpenAI has partnership with Shopify and all this type of things happening around centralized commerce. So how do you think decentralized commerce can do things like this?
Yeah, decentralized commerce actually has probably like the biggest leg up when it comes to like being able to interact with like agentic systems. Just again, the biggest thing is really just like adoption and knowledge of the systems themselves. Because like the reason why like Perplexity, OpenAI, and all these companies are doing this like direct integration with like the like Shopify, Amazon, all this stuff, is because those platforms have reach and massive scale. So it makes sense for them, and they're already knowledgeable about it. But the beautiful thing about open source is that as things build out, people are going to be able to actually integrate these like native systems with like, because even like on the Bitcoin side, we have like L402, Lightning 402, which is like one of the payment request specifications on the internet. 402 was, but this one's like specifically for like, interacting with Lightning. Coinbase, like on the crypto side, Coinbase released X402, so it's like a payment protocol to be able to allow agents to be able to interact. So like the infrastructure is already being built out. It's just a matter of getting more people realizing that, yeah, like realizing that the tools that they have at their disposal and that they can interact with in order to build new systems. So it's just fleshing that out again, more of like a UX on the dev side more than anything, of being able to like see, okay, I can interact with the protocol, I can use it, I can build something out of it, and like putting it out into the wild and like testing it out, because I know there are a few projects that are like working on doing that type of stuff. And like with Shopstr in particular, yeah, it'd be great to be able to have like direct pipelines in for agents, and especially with like MCP servers. That'd be something great to like potentially integrate, is like an MCP server that allows you to natively shop on Shopstr. And like that's like a really great way to like at least pipe things in and start like allowing that kind of interfacing with it, especially with like the way that Shopstr has currently gone. We haven't like dived fully all into the AI hype or any of that stuff, because the a business interest or business need, but like agentic shopping is one of like a big market opportunity that is like growing and developing. I just want to be able to like lay the foundation to actually do it properly, and not doing it in a way that just like gatekeeps and like consumes everything. It's actually organically allowing it to develop and like laying down like proper infrastructure, so it's done in a right way. Because I also still see that agentic shopping won't be like the only way we shop. People are still going to go into retail stores as they do now. They're still going to go like be shopping normally online. And like I think the primary thing is like actually developing a sense of community and brand presence around like whatever product or service that's being sold. So you have to just like really focus on like, again, the marketing side of everything in order to be able to really take advantage of the new tools that are being developed at the moment.
So now the main questions are done. These are some of my personal questions. Like, what do you think about other chains like Solana, Ethereum, and prediction markets like Kalshi is there, Polymarket is there, and they are having massive growth. So what do you think about them?
Yeah, especially with like Solana, at least Solana, I'm like I'm pretty much against like pretty much any other altcoin. But at least like the one thing I give Solana is that they're kind of honest about like what they're trying to do, because like Ethereum markets itself as like ultrasound money, and it's still trying to be the monetary foundation of everything. But at Solana is just like an application layer of being able to build smart contract applications. And I'm fine with the way that they market themselves, because they're actually not trying to be like a monetary instrument. Like obviously there's a token backing it and you can like invest in it and like make money off of it, all that. But they're fundamentally a technology platform, and that's ultimately how I see almost all of their chains. Whenever you compare Bitcoin to like Ethereum, that's like comparing Bitcoin to Amazon. That's how I think of it. It's like you're comparing like a monetary instrument and a technical primitive to like a company or like a digital, like something that like a tech company. Because like Ethereum, Solana, all of them have like legal foundations around them. They have dev groups, they have organizations around them that like kind of not necessarily 100% dictate everything, but like they do guide direction and like lay the path of like what's going to be built on next, like what's going to happen. There's a roadmap, which is like a key sign that it's not fully permissionless, all completely like open system, because there is people who are like guiding direction of stuff. And that's like fundamentally how I see the difference between the two. And like Bitcoin is like there is no like necessary like organization that controls everything. Yes, there's Bitcoin Core and they have like people that are building on it, but individuals have the option to not run that particular software. They can fork it, they don't have to upgrade to recent level new softwares. They can run different instances, they can do a bunch of different stuff with it. It's like a little bit more open system in my opinion. And then like the proof of work mechanism, I believe, is much more secure than the proof of stake mechanism. Like on a technical side, that's fundamentally, I think, like one of the big differences that I see, because with proof of work, it's tied to like real physical energy. So there's a physical constraint to attacks. Like you have to have actual like physical machines moved to certain places. You have to have real energy connection. You have to have cheap electricity in order to like make things profitable and make things like worthwhile. While in proof of stake, it's literally just a monetary divergence. You have to like invest money into it in order to like control more access, which you can just print money, and that's like the very antithesis of like what we're trying to do. So you can just print money to like buy more Ethereum or buy more Solana. Obviously like pumps the price, it makes it harder to, there's like a natural like economic mechanism there that kind of like limits it, but it's a lot more corruptible. than the proof of work system. And like proof of work has its issues, obviously, especially like with Bitcoin. Like mining centralization is a big problem, but those things in particular are like the big differences that I see. And then yeah, with prediction markets, I've actually very recently gotten into like and getting involved in them, and I've been like doing my own bets and stuff. But yeah, it's they're interesting because I like them, especially on the politics side. They're actually very interesting political signals, like seeing the market react and like how things are playing out with regards to like, oh, who's going to be elected, or like what's determining specific policies. It's very interesting to think about, like how they can influence and like actually be involved. But the only thing that the downside of that is definitely that because like it is glorified gambling, right? So it's
Yeah.
just like in the face of it, it is glorified gambling. Legally, it's not, because that's how they get away with a lot of the stuff that they're doing, especially with like the sports betting and all that. But when you actually just look at like activity on Kalshi, I think 90% of it is betting on sports, and there's like no real societal value and impact that comes from that. Polymarket is actually, I believe, 40% politics and like 39% sports. So the sports is like growing in usage, but it's still largely mainly political or like world events related. So and that's I think like a big signal, more than anything, is that it's a nice mechanism to inform individuals about like the mechanics of like world events and like see like where things could possibly be going, because it is more accurate than like polling when it comes to like the presidential elections in the U.S., for example. It's more like it can predict when certain like world events are going to happen around the world, like different, like when Venezuela, the president of Venezuela was captured by the U.S. But then there's also like on that front, there's like the level of insider trading that happens on the back end of a lot of stuff. And yeah, it's a there's an argument to be made that insider trading, or like at least insider involvement in like these type of markets, is good because it sends a real signal to the market that like, yeah, this thing's happening, like this is more real than like the narrative that's like being put online by people who aren't involved. But whenever you can financially profit from that, there is a little bit of a gray area where it's like, I don't know if that's necessarily like the most like moral is probably the wrong word, but like it's not necessarily the most correct thing or like right thing to be doing. It's just very interesting dynamics that can play out from that. But I do really like the systems. It'd be great if there was more like because I actually had one bet that I did recently. I was betting on like the ending of Stranger Things, and in that there was like a dispute resolution that's based on like some third party token. And I hate the dispute resolution system on Polymarket because it's relying on some like token that I think has like market cap of like 60 million, and the market that it was resolving on was like an 80-90 million dollar market. So it's like, oh, like, this tiny token is actually just dictating whether or not like the bet we made is correct or not. So it's just like there's some certain dynamics that I wish could be like resolved a little bit, but it's hard with especially if you're trying to do like a fully decentralized prediction market. That's what they call assassination markets, because so many things can devolve out of no whack. So there is like definitely some like constraints that need to be like put in place. But yeah, they're very interesting mechanisms for like just seeing like the sentiment of the market, the sentiment of like uh, yeah, what people in the world are like seeing as most likelihood of event, or likelihood chance for an event to take place. So yeah, I find them valuable as information signals. But even myself being involved in like trading on Polymarket, there it's definitely just gambling, at least from my perspective.
So now we are running out of questions, and this is my last question. Like, how has your experience working with me and Valve, obviously? I have like worked almost 10 months, starting from April 2025 to till now. And there are so many students like me who will be joining again this year with Summer of Bitcoin program. So what do you want to suggest them, like if they want to step into this industry, what should they study right now? And what are the fields and which is going to be the most valuable skill?
All right. Yeah. At least with regards to working with you, it's been an awesome experience, especially when you first like submitted your application for Summer of Bitcoin. It was yeah, it was great to like see it, like that you were like getting really on top of it, and that you were a self-starter agent on like doing everything on your own. And you would, whenever, as soon as you had a question, like you would just immediately jump on it and like get to it. So it's like been awesome to be able to like work with you, because basically it feels like a flat org structure, because you can just come to me, do what you need to, and then you do it, and then like you just get stuff done. You suggest certain things to like offer to like build. So it's like really really great experience to have you. It'd be great to eventually like actually meet in person. So that'd be awesome if I'm ever in India, or you're ever somehow in the US. That'd be really really great to meet up again. But yeah, the I guess with regards to like offering advice to like anyone like trying to get involved, I think for me, obviously, like still knowing like having some technical prowess is still like important, to be able to like understand like the output of whenever you're working with like agentic, like anything, any model, anything LLM related. You want to be able to like parse the output that's coming out of it and understand what's actually happening, so you're not just like bogging yourself down with like junk whenever you're like working with stuff. And that's like ultimately one of the big things is like still working creative muscles. I think is going to be the most important thing across the board for anything. Just trying to be creative in any way, building something new in your own way, coming up with a new idea, even like writing, like even making memes and stuff like that. If you can like work that muscle of just like putting stuff out there that you thought of and refining it with AI, that's something that will be very valuable, because like the input, especially where like it's so cheap to get an output, because you can just ask any question, you get something in return. You always get something in return. um, but like the hard thing is actually coming up with the right structure, the right format of question in order to process and get something valuable from the models that you're interacting with. So by actually just like working the creative muscle, you can just like simple exercise, like I know like Mr. Beast from YouTube, who like he used to do when he was a kid. He would just write 10 video ideas of like what he wanted to do every morning, just 10 video ideas, no matter what they were. It could be something super super stupid, or something like he just thought was genius, but just like anything, put it down on paper, mark it somewhere, just so you like work the muscle of like thinking of new things, to like put out into the world. And I think more than anything, like the biggest skill is just like being comfortable with. I guess like the good way to summarize it: being comfortable with embarrassment. More than anything, being comfortable being uncomfortable. Because the more you put yourself out there and just like try something, and realizing that the worst thing that happens is people just forget that you even existed, or that your project even existed, then it's like things aren't that bad. Then it kind of gives you a little bit more confidence to just like keep trying and building up. And it's just resiliency, being capable of like persevering through like failures and like things going wrong, because I've had a lot of stuff go wrong, especially even this year. Like a few months ago, I had like a pitch competition where I just completely fell flat on my face, and I just did not deliver the presentation properly, and I felt bad. But no, I kept going, and we're like in the process of like still raising some money, and we've already hit our minimum goal. So like we're working to you just have to like work towards being comfortable with failure and like learning from it as soon as possible. Don't see like failure and any of that stuff as like something that just like ruins your chances of like ever making it in life, or like doing anything that's worthwhile. You'll always be able to like bounce back up. It's just mainly all mentality and mindset. Whether or not you believe that you can actually make it, you can visualize yourself doing it, getting in the right headspace to like allow for yourself to like feel the pain of like failure, but moving on from it and actually like learning and growing from it. And with regards to like industries or like fields that are probably going to grow the most, I think obviously like even though like AI is taking everyone's tech jobs, like tech is still going to be super valuable. It's just a matter of the biggest things in that are going to be being able to position whatever products you're building into positioning it in ways that are more palatable and more easily recognizable for people. So like marketing is going to be, I think, the biggest, most important thing for most people to do. Picking up the ability to market, and that doesn't necessarily mean like running ads or any of that stuff. It's just like creating some form of content, newsletters, videos, memes, uh, doing like ad copy and directly like actually writing like ads and like putting any of that stuff out there, graphic design, logo making, any of the stuff that like helps establish like a presence of the product that you're building, and building a sense of community. Even like running events, like pop-up events, running meetups like in your local city, any of that stuff, anything that like creates social engagement or online engagement is going to be very very important. Because in the age where like the product building is becoming like the cost of building a product is getting reduced to zero, and things are becoming easier to build, the only thing that's going to matter is like the people behind it and the community behind it, like the brand around it, and like the the identity of the product more than anything. So like if you can establish those foundations of like creating some form of content, creating things, you're gonna be like well set up to be able to like build your path and like be able to do whatever it is that you want in life and get out of life whatever it is you want.
Great. So now the most talked about questions around Bitcoiners. Who do you think, as per your theory, is the Satoshi Nakamoto?
In my opinion, I think the answer is simple. It's just Hal Finney, and he just
Yeah.
passed away and like lost the keys with him. That I feel like is the most like it feels the most complete and like most comfortable ending. It just makes the most sense to me. But I did have a friend who has a very in-depth theory that's like very well explained and like has a good amount of like detail and like everything's linked together. There's still a little bit of holes that I see, but according to his theory, it's Craig Wright, Hal Finney, and then one other guy. I forgot the guy's name, but he's popular amongst the cryptographic circles or like the Bitcoin circles who like were involved in it. He was like a gambler. He was a paraplegic. So they're originally like there's like this group of people that was originally the Satoshi, and there's like some theory around behind it, and like it gets very involved and it's very intense how it like it's all linked together. But to me, it's just Hal Finney. I think that's the best answer.
Yeah, same for me.